Hi, and welcome back to part 2 of our series on search engine ranking and optimization. This is being brought to you by Cache Data Consulting LLC. So last time, this is where we had left off when we were talking about the tags, and we had actually just covered the title, description, and keyword tags. Just a recap of the other items, we had done a baseline number of hits on our page. After that, we did a little bit of keyword research to come up with essentially 3 or 4 items, and then we also checked our ranking on 3 search engines: Google, Yahoo, and Bing, and we were not showing up. And so this is where we are. As far as our page, I have the page up and running here, so let me just quickly show it to you. What I've done here is I've added essentially the lines just to kind of show me where everything stands. What this does is it lets me see essentially all the hidden items and whatnot. When we will be ready to deploy this page for real, we will take out these lines. So what I wanted to show you is go to View, Page Source. I'm using Firefox today, which actually helps you see things a little bit better as far as from a page source point of view. So this is what we changed last time, okay, which is free SQL Server videos. That's going to be our keyword phrase, remember. We went ahead and updated the description, which, like I mentioned, needs to be a nice little sentence, that makes sense. And then finally we talked about the keywords, and you will notice one thing here, that my expression free SQL Server videos is being repeated in essentially every component, and this is definitely important for your main keyword phrase. And some of the other keyword phrases we're using are essentially SQL Server 2008. In fact, you'll notice that if I do a search on, let me just do a search on SQL Server here. Another thing I like about essentially Firefox is you can highlight things. So notice that we have 1, 2, 3 items in description. Okay, that says SQL Server, and in keywords I have also used 1, 2, 3. So there's repetition. Some people argue that that's a little bit of spam. I'm actually just putting it in there because this seems to work for us. So, and we are using it in different contexts. So here we're using SQL Server 2000, here we're using SQL Server 2008. So that's definitely okay in this case, okay? So coming back to our PowerPoint, this is today what we're going to start on is body tags, okay? These help the web surfer and also the robot. So there are a lot of tags in here. The ones we are going to concentrate are H1 through H6, which is used for heading. Next we are going to use bold and strong, and then we are actually going to look at link and also the image tags. And we had showed you this reference too, by the way, which does talk about this. So maybe let's take a look at this one real quick. And again, this site that has been put together, I believe by, his name is Juan, but 200 factors that are important from an SEO perspective. Very good resource, and I do look at this every now and then. Last time we had covered essentially the title, description, and keyword, which are the header tags, and today we are going to focus in on body. And notice that for headings, they have rated this as a hot, okay? And headings are important. Essentially, H1, H2 are definitely important, but the subheadings are also important. So let's take a look at our page and see what we got going on here. Now, what I would recommend here is, since free SQL Server videos is our keyword phrase, I would even put that above this heading, okay? In search engine ranking terms, whatever comes in the top left corner seems to be weighed heavily compared to what comes essentially later on in the text. Okay, so I would say let's put a H1 heading here. Now any of these items, which are SQL Server 2000 video tutorials, which is definitely a heading because all of this section talks about that, so that could possibly be an H2 or H3. One thing that we are doing pretty good in this page is you'll notice that these lessons, the detailed lessons, are all in bold, okay? So this is definitely a good point from a search engine perspective, and you'll notice that SQL Server is being repeated quite a bit here. In fact, here's another point. Okay, you'll find that when people are searching for SQL Server 2000, sometimes they're searching by this expression, SQL 2000 Server. So it definitely helps to move around the text, essentially the word order. All right, so moving on, again, this part, which is sort of like a heading, these are the samples. In fact, what I would even do is move this part, okay, up here, right below our little description. Okay, so I would move that up here. Any of these items, like this one, should be heading. This could be a heading. Again, the part about the free SQL Server videos can be moved right above the detailed description on the lessons. So I'm going to actually go ahead and make these changes, but I'm pointing these out so that you can get an idea of what we're doing. Okay. Now, if I open up my editor, which I'm using Coffee Cup HTML editor, and I was hoping I didn't close it by accident. So if I go to my code editor window, if you can remember last time we discussed this one, and this one. Okay, so now I'm actually going to go ahead and essentially look for the part where it talks about the actual specific video tutorial. So the expression I'm looking for is here. And the reason I'm looking for this is so I can actually go ahead and put a h1 tag right above it. Okay, so here's this expression that we just looked at, and notice it's an h3, which is not bad. But what I would even do is come over here, okay, and essentially you can do this just manually if you know the tags, or you can let your HTML editor do this for you. So I'm going to say free SQL Server videos. Okay, this needs to match essentially your whatever you had in your title. Okay, in fact, what I would even do is I would even go one step further and just copy this right from here, bring it down to where we were, which is, I believe, right here. Oh, I think it's kind of hard to find some of this stuff, but I think, yeah, there we are. So we're going to go ahead and put that in here. We close the tag. Okay. What I would do with some of these other tags, I'm going to promote this to an H2. All right. So let me go ahead and work on these, and I will be right back because this is essentially detail work. But essentially, what I'm trying to do is, like I mentioned, is I'm trying to put in a lot of H1, H2 tags in here. So I should be right back. So I have gone ahead and made some changes to the website. I'm going to go ahead and upload these now using FileZilla, and then once that is completed, I will come back here. Let me just close this one. Okay, you'll notice that this is still our old page. Remember what I had said was I was going to move essentially the free SQL Server section right in here. Okay, and then I was also going to do the same thing for this one, and then finally I'm also going to change some things, like where it says PowerPoint presentations. I'm going to make this one bigger and call it SQL Server PowerPoint. And I notice in here I'm using SQL Server. I will make this SQL Server 2000 and then also put in SQL Server in here. Okay, so let me go ahead and just refresh this, see what kind of changes do we get. And I'm just going to simply point the changes. So this one, even though it looks